This is Goals with Soul, the podcast for visionary coaches and entrepreneurs, building your business with inspired action. In alignment with your mission and authentic message, so you can create impact for your soul clients and feel lit up every day. I'm your host, Jo Ingram, married mum of 3 daughters from London and a former ad agency director turned business coach and strategist. In Goals with Soul, we blend revenue generation with energetics, marketing strategies with pranic healing, and ambitious business goals with our soul's desires. If you're looking to build your business with less efforting and more ease, this is the podcast for you. Let's dive in. Welcome to Goals with Soul. I'm Joanna Ingram, and we are back with our first interview in season 5. And this one is the most outstanding interview I can imagine doing when it comes to making money online, particularly through passive income streams. I remember very clearly when I first launched myself out of corporate and into the world of online coaching. And I was particularly drawn to this idea of passive income. As it's transpired, my business hasn't gone in a passive way, not at this point anyway. And I have no doubt at all that in the future, passive income streams are going to be a much more dominant part of my business model. And today's guest is pretty much the leader in the field when it comes to passive income streams. Lisa Johnson is a multi-7-figure global business strategist. She makes 90% of her money through passive or semi-passive income streams. And get this, in one launch alone, during the pandemic in 2021, she made £2.5 million in a week. And in fact, that was £1 million in the first hour of sales. She had a tough childhood, growing up in social housing, but went on to have successful careers in law, banking, and the entertainment industry. And it's this background in overcoming obstacles that's helped mould her into the bold, straight-talking coach who's never been afraid to be authentic and outspoken truth teller. She took herself from £30,000 in debt to making over £10 million in the first 5 years. Lisa's got a #1 business podcast called Making Money Online, as well as being the author of the best-selling book, Make Money Online. She's spoken on the BBC's Women's Hour and featured in national newspapers, including The Telegraph, Psychologies and The Guardian. And in fact, a feature on Lisa in Forbes magazine garnered over 250,000 views in 1 week. Lisa's a huge believer that anyone can become a success, no matter their background. She's an ambassador for the anti-bullying charity Bullies Out, and she lives in Bedfordshire, UK, with her husband and twin sons. This is one of the moments where I had the privilege to learn from the best, and I cannot wait to share this with you. Let's dive in. Hello, Lisa. Welcome to Goals with Soul.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm super excited that you're joining me, particularly this week, because your book has launched to such phenomenal success. And I know that although, well, we think you should be really busy, but I know you're going to tell us you're not as busy as we think you are. But I imagine you've got lots going on. So to have you to share these gems with us is something I'm excited about. And something that we haven't covered very much on Goals with Soul is the area of passive income. And you're a leading light in this area. So before I dive into questions about that, I'd love to learn a little bit more about how you got where you are and what the background story is.
Yeah, well, I'll do a shortened version because it's so long. But basically, I grew up in council housing, so didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. You know, no one I knew had a business or anything like that. And then I was bullied all the way through school for being poor. And so I left school at 16 without really knowing what lay ahead and what I was going to do. I just knew I needed to get out of school and kind of clawed my way up a corporate ladder from office junior all the way up to working in investment banking as a risk analyst. And so thought I'd done okay, making decent money. And from where I came from, it felt like a big, I'd done really well. And then in my mid-30s, I got pregnant with twins and ended up going through a divorce just as they were being born, just quickly after they were being born. And so suddenly had 2 more mouths to feed, which were very unexpected. There's no twins in my family for a start. And then, having to somehow look after them on my own and go to work. And I was working in a job in Canary Wharf at the time where you worked really long hours. And I knew, like, I went back to work when they were 5 months old and knew very quickly there's no way that this was going to be able to be sustainable. I wasn't earning enough to pay for the childcare. You know, it took all of my wages. So decided to go and get a job near my house so I could at least see them, you know, before and after I went to work. And the only things going were office junior jobs again, like admin assistant jobs. So I went right back down to the beginning. It was like the last 15 years of career hadn't happened because I'd had kids. And while I was there, I was now on like a £20,000 salary, getting more and more into debt, and realized that maybe I could do something at the same time, you know, have a side hustle. I'd been reading about side hustles. And so I started a wedding planning business, made every mistake you can possibly make, because didn't know anything about business. And after the first year, I'd worked really hard on it. I'd had lots of weddings, but was getting paid a pittance, like not even enough to cover my costs. And so realized that I either needed to really concentrate on business and really work out what a business owner is and how to make money properly from business, or to give up £30,000 in debt. No, I'd always be in debt. I'd always be living hand to mouth, just like the generations of my family have. So, you know, it didn't scare me that much. It's just I wanted something different for my kids. But I decided to give it a go. And so I went all in, read every business book I could get my hands on from the library, like any webinar that was free, I would go to and try and work out what I needed to do from it. I started implementing things, and I turned the wedding business around, and it started making a profit. Eventually, a couple of years went by and it was making the same amount as when I was in corporate, earning 60,000. So I'd done all right there. But then if you'd have asked me what I wanted my life to look like, I would have said, I want to travel. I've never been able to travel. We'd never had the money to. I wanted to take my twins and show them the world. And instead, I was doing weddings every single weekend. And so I still wasn't really seeing the twins as much as I wanted to. And I had a new husband by this point. You know, we just got married, and you know, I wasn't really seeing him either. And so I realized people started to ask me organically how I'd started to make money from this wedding business. And I started to tell them, and it became clear very quickly that I had a gift for making business really simple. I would just tell them what to do. They would go and do it. They would come back and say, I've just tripled my income. First wedding planning businesses, then all different businesses were coming to me. And I was just doing it for free for about 2 years. And then I thought, well, hold on a minute. Why don't I set up Lisa Johnson's strategy and help people with businesses and get rid of the wedding business? You know, I gave it away. We did a competition and I gave it to somebody that otherwise wouldn't be able to afford to have a wedding business, and started the company. This time everything changed because I'd learned everything from that first business that I'd had. So, you know, in the first year I made 220,000, which was, I'd never seen money like that before. And people were saying, oh, you know, from the outside, you're really successful. You know, you've seen you in this magazine and you're earning this much money. And I felt the least successful I'd been so far, because I was now working one-to-one with clients from 6 a.m. till 11 o'clock at night. And I never saw my kids. It was like, I never saw them. And I knew that something had to change. I knew I was being burned out, like constantly. I was getting ill, and I didn't know how to change it. And then I was listening to a podcast like this, and they were talking about passive income, and they were talking about how it didn't exist. And that, you know, my ears pricked up. I was like, oh, what's this little argument about? And I started to think, this passive income stuff, if it's true, it's going to change everything for this business, this strategy business. And if it's not, it's not. Started to look more into it and went down a bit of a rabbit hole, and decided to put half of the earnings that I'd earned so far, about 130,000, into learning about all different types of passive income streams, on the hope that this was a real thing that worked. So I learned about everything from Dropbox into like cryptocurrency, drop shipping, and, you know, courses and memberships and all these different types of things, affiliate marketing. And then I started to add them into the business, just like slowly, one by one, perfecting them. If it wasn't working, I'd get rid of it straight away. If it was kind of working but needed other things, I would try and make it better. And then by the end of year 2, instead of earning 220,000 but working, I don't know, 80 hours a week, I was working 30 hours a month and I was earning over $1 million. And that's when I kind of was like, okay, I am on to something. What people actually need to learn about is this, how to get more time and more freedom, and not have to sacrifice making money for it or sacrifice spending time with your kids. And so that's what I started to teach. And that was 4 years ago now. And, now it's all a bit crazy. And we've made 12 million in that time. And I now have a team of 10. And we've made millionaires and so many people who have completely changed their lives. Over 6,000 I've taught now. So
wow, I mean, it's mic drop stuff, Lisa.
Crazy stuff.
Just tremendous. From the beginnings of your story, growing up so humbly and trying all the things, it really is a story of an amazing amount of tenacity and just keep going again to try and find and unlock exactly what the answer is for you personally.
Yeah.
And I love how you had so much clarity on what you wanted your life to look like. And I resonate. I mean, I've been through divorce when my baby was really young. I've got twins pretty much the same age as yours. It's really hard going to juggle all the things, and being through the corporate mill as I did, got used to working really long hours and took that right into my own business when I first launched as well. Went through very similar struggles going, is that what I signed up for? And then trying to find those solutions. And clearly the one that you're onto right now is just working, not just brilliantly for you, but for those people that you're now coaching and helping through your courses. Yeah. So it's passive income, right? Yeah. I know that people are going to have tuned into this episode with their sort of ears pricked up. They're like, passive income. Like we kind of are more educated about it than maybe some used to be. We know it exists. We know it's real. Yeah. But we're not really sure what that means for us. It seems like it's something for others, but not for me because I'm a coach that does this, or not for me because I'm a spiritual person who does that, or, any number of these stories that we're telling ourselves. Like, what is it in the way that you do it and you teach it?
Let's talk about what it's not first, because I think that what people are trying to teach it as is what makes people so cynical about it. And the way people have taught it is they've really centered on the word passive, as in you don't have to do anything, you just go to the beach with your laptop and money will somehow rain down on you. And the reality is it's really hard work. It's not passive at the beginning. Nothing is. Everything takes some action. And in the first year, you are creating an asset. So if you think of passive income as just one thing, no longer trading time for money. So let's say you are a branding designer. You do somebody's website, that takes you some time, and then you get some money for it. And then you don't get any more money until you put some more time to do somebody else's website, and then you make money from it. What's different about passive income is it's not reliant on you doing something all the time. You build an asset up front. Let's talk about the easiest passive income there is. You have a room for rent. So your asset is the bedroom. You've already worked hard to have that bedroom. You've bought your house or whatever. You've painted the room, you're creating the asset, you put a bed in it and a nice chest of drawers, and that's the work done. Then someone, a lodger, comes in because you've marketed it on Gumtree or whatever, and they pay you every single month to stay in that room. You're not doing anything. It's now completely passive for you, but it wasn't at the beginning because you had to do all that stuff to the room. So if we think about it like that, all passive income streams is creating an asset that you can make money from over and over and over again. So if we take a course as a good example, let's say you're a coach, like I started out as a consultant, so coach if you like, and created a course called Fabulous Foundations. It was the first thing I ever did. And I used to take people through it one-to-one. Then I realized, well, hold on a minute. Why don't I just take 1,000 people through this at the same time? Because then I'm getting paid a lot more money. And then I realized, well, if I record it, and they can just buy it from my website whenever they like, then I'm not doing anything. It's already done. It's there. And literally as I'm asleep, more money will come into my bank account as people buy it from different places around the world. There is a difference between passive and semi-passive. I love semi-passive income just as much. So passive is when you really don't have to do anything. Like if you have made a course, you've made your PowerPoint slides, you've made your booklets, You've put them on a website and people just go and buy them. You've recorded your voice talking. If you then decide, like I did after the first few months of people buying it, that I felt a bit weird because I didn't know whether they were getting good results from it or if they had questions or anything, that you want to make it semi-passive income, that's still good. So what I decided to do is take those 8 modules, and instead of just letting them have them, once a week I would come on live to a Zoom and I will teach it. It's already done. The PowerPoint's already there. The book's already there. I'm just going to say it, basically, so that if they have any questions, then they can ask me. And so if I show up, they're more likely to show up. So they're more likely to get to the end of the course. Now, some people said to me, well, that's not very passive, is it? Like, you're actually having to spend 10 hours of your time on Zoom. No, but let's look at the figures. If somebody booked me one-to-one for 10 hours, the most I could really charge in integrity would be about £20,000. For those same exact 10 hours for doing a course, well, the last time I made 3.5 million. Mm-hmm. So, it's all about scale. It's all about the numbers of people, because when you work one-to-one in anything, or even very small containers, you are going to hit a ceiling of not only what you can earn, but the time that you have. And passive income means you don't have to.
I love how simply you've put that. I think it's easy for everyone to understand what passive income looks like and why, certainly from a maths perspective, as well as a time perspective, it's super desirable. And it's interesting, though, that you must find that a lot of people are taking their first steps into passive income, and many are still resisting and standing at the sidelines, wondering whether it would ever be for them. And this is a curious thing. And I can talk from my own personal perspective, too. It's been something I've dabbled in, but something I've retracted from, and I've gone into different kinds of business models for good reasons. But nonetheless, passive income keeps coming back around. And yet there's a resistance. I hear this from my own clients, and I hear this from like the industry as a whole. And I could list it out, but I know you're going to know the resistance points even better than I. So what is it that's stopping people from just going, yeah, it's so obvious, right? Why are they not doing it? Why is everybody not just jumping on board?
There's so many different things. One of them is that people believe that they are giving better value one-to-one. And there is something to that, actually. If you work with someone one-to-one, it's your eyes on their problems. And so, of course, they're going to get better results. But not everyone can afford you, first off. So what you are actually doing is not allowing all those people that can't afford you to work with you in a more affordable way, whereas passive income allows you to. Another reason is, this is the biggest reason, yeah, but somebody's already doing that. Why bother? If somebody's already has a membership on that or a course on that, why bother doing it? What you should be worrying about is if someone doesn't already do it, because it means there's not a market for it. There is no new things, but the way in which you do something is going to be very different and will resonate with different people than the way in which somebody else does something. The thing we put in the book, which really brings it home to people, and people have written to me about this sentence in the book, is in Brick Lane in London, there are 52 curry restaurants. They all do well. It doesn't, no hairdressers wake up in the morning and go, I can't really be a hairdresser. There's already a hairdresser. Like, no one thinks that way offline, but online, for some reason, we think only one person can do things. And the third is that no one believes they're an expert. Everyone believes you have to be the biggest guru to be teaching anything. And the reality is you do not. The definition of an expert is the person that knows the most about a particular subject in an average room, not the world or your town or the internet, in an average room. We all know something more than somebody else. The first passive income product I ever bought was a PDF ebook of how to get around Disneyland with 2 under 2s. That person had been to Disneyland 4 times. She wasn't working for Disneyland. She'd been there 4 times with 2 under 2s. So she knew exactly what to do. And she knew that she could save me time by putting it all into a PDF and selling it to me for about £29 or something like that. I think it might have even been £49. At the time, it was well worth it for me. And when I spoke to her and said to her, how much money do you make from this? And she said, like hundreds and hundreds every single month, because so many people download it. And it really made me realize that this doesn't have to be rocket science you're selling. It just has to be something that you know about. It doesn't even have to be something in your past or your business that you do now. It could just be a hobby. I have people with memberships and courses on anything from dating to hula hooping to assertiveness to cooking.
I love that. I love that. And that's the truth. I mean, if you go out onto Google and type anything in, you're going to find people out there blogging about it, talking about it, and ideally selling passive income streams and courses through it. And that middle one that you said, I mean, that hits home so much for the work that I do as a messaging specialist, because the work I do and that what I see so frequently is that people say, well, I'm just a life coach. What makes me different? And that's the joy in the work around messaging, which is, hang on, you are so you. And the more you are, the more people are going to resonate and be attracted to you. So let's just get on with being you. And it just reminds me, when I first showed up on my podcast, my very first episode, I thought that in order to be successful, I had to be like Amy Porterfield. So if anybody ever wants to go back to my first episode, they're like, hear my tone, my intonation. I'm like, well, this is how the experts do it. So this is how it should be done, right? And my podcast only started to explode and gain traction when I just dropped that. And I was just like, right, I'm showing up and I'm just being me and doing it my way.
But that's what works. I believe that the reason that we in my business made money so fast is when I first came into this industry, 5.5 years ago, nearly 6 now, everybody was trying to be perfect. Like everything was curated. Everyone looked like a blonde size 6 model influencer, always coming out of water with a bikini on, eating quinoa salad. And then there's me, size 16 to 18, with a Mars bar, like being the opposite of what these people are. And that's why it worked, because I was just being real. I wasn't trying to perfect everything. And I'm always quite open about the things that go wrong, not just the things that go right. But no one wants to work with somebody that's perfect. It's so intimidating. They want to work with people that are a little bit like them. And none of us feel perfect.
Yeah, 100%. I know that that's true over and over and over. So, and I love the realness that you bring, because it makes it so accessible to, well, read your book, jump on your podcast, and obviously have a look at your courses and understand it. And I'm like, right, I'm going to get a little bit into the nitty gritty here, because I'm thinking if I wonder this, then I know someone listening is wondering it too. Because passive income sounds great. And it's like, let's say you get over that first hurdle and you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm enough of an expert. I've got a thing, and you're technical enough to create a thing. And you have your thing, and then it doesn't sell because your
you haven't got an audience.
Well, audience. And it's like, I myself, when I first got into this industry, I took a course, I'm not going to say who with, and it promised the world, and it's a very well-established person who does great work. And I was like, yes. And I followed every single step. And I didn't make a great success, because at the end of the day, you've got to market it to people who actually got their eyeballs.
This is how I started. Right? This is why my business started, because I did exactly what you did. I bought a course on how to do a course. So I bought this course and I did the course. And then at the end of it, I was like, oh, well, who am I going to sell it to? So then I bought another course about how to grow an audience. And I did exactly what it said, and I grew the audience. And I was like, how do I sell it? So I had to buy another course on how to launch, and it was just never ending. And that's why my One to Many program, the thing that I'm most known for, started, because I decided to put all of them together into one. So beginning to end, because I do think there is a lot of this, like, just make a course and sell it. And the reality is that's the easy bit. The hardest bit is growing the audience and showing up consistently and giving good value and all of those kind of things.
Well, let's get real on that for a minute, the growing the audience bit, because as much as we wish we could all be going viral and overnight success, it is really a game of being consistent and getting over those mind gremlins that would have you take 2 weeks off because it's too hard and I'm out of alignment, and let's not even go there. And it's like, how do we just create an audience that is going to be ready for us to bring these passive courses to and make the passive income dream a reality?
Yeah, and it's hard. Like it's not a get rich quick scheme. It takes time, because people have to know, like, and trust you. We all know this, but that trust takes time. You can't just go, oh, I've had people come to me and say, well, I'm just going to use Facebook ads. And I'm like, go on then. And they'll spend like 20 grand on Facebook ads and get this audience, and they still won't sell anything, because you still need to nurture an audience. The audience still needs to get to know you. You can't just have some people sitting there and they buy stuff. It just won't happen. So I believe it's about growing a loyal audience. I've never gone viral. I've never had like a post do really well or over like 2,000 or anything like that. It's quite small, the kind of things I do, but it's consistent. And so, and I've grown, people think I've grown really quickly, but in terms of audience, I still have a very small audience size compared to people that are doing the kind of money that I'm making. It's a very small, my list isn't more than 30,000. If you compare that to most people who are making multi-seven figures, they're on 200,000 to 500,000 people in their list. Because I don't believe it's about growing a big audience. I believe it's about growing a loyal audience. And I think the way you grow a loyal audience is to take people on the journey with you. So, you might not know everything at the beginning. You can only teach what you know, right? So at the beginning, they saw that I could only teach small things about the wedding industry and the things I'd learned there. But they've come with me on this journey. And so they've grown with me. Take people behind the scenes, show people the reality of what things are like. People want to see what you're actually doing and the things you actually know in real life, not just you talking about them. I also believe messaging is massively important. I believe in secondary messaging being more important than your primary messaging. Having that thing that people know you for. People generally don't come to work with me because I'm a passive income specialist. There's lots of us out there. They come to work with me because I'm known for integrity and for honesty and transparency. They're the reasons that people want to work with me. And then the third thing is consistency. And when I'm talking about consistency, I mean, like in any job, you're not going to want to do everything all the time. But when I used to work as an office junior, if I'd have said to my boss, I can't do the filing today, it's just not in alignment with my energy, I would have been fired. And the reality is that you are now your own boss. And therefore, if you're going to give yourselves those kind of excuses, fire yourself. Because that it isn't right for you to be a business owner, because the two biggest things to be a business owner is going to be your consistency and your resilience, to be able to get up when you don't really feel like it, to be able to do some of the things that are going to feel really scary. I can't tell you how much I feel like throwing up before standing on a stage, but you were there, you saw me do it. Like, there are things that we don't want to do.
I didn't see you throw up. I saw you nail it
on the stage, looking okay and slightly nervous. But I'm always going to feel those things. I'm never going to be the person that loves standing on a stage. I'm always going to be the person that likes being behind a camera, or in front of a camera, but not in real life. And so there are always going to be things that I would rather do less of. But if it's going to push your business forward, then it's your responsibility to do them.
I love how clearly you've put that. Yeah, I mean, it's plain talking stuff, and I struggle with that, and actually worked through it in a way that I always lean on now, because a lot of people that I talk to in my world will talk about alignment and energy and how you want to be in alignment in order to bring all the things that you wish to attract and so on. But I realized that in choosing the short term, I'm out of alignment with writing content today. I'd rather walk through the woods barefoot, as I used to tell myself, is not the same as saying I'm in alignment with my goals. I'm in alignment with the results that I'm going to create by doing the hard things today. Yeah, and that's the alignment we really want to join with,
Liken it to your kids. There are some days I am not in alignment with bringing up children, but I don't get to go, so I'm not doing that today. Like, you have a responsibility to your business, just like you do to your children, to make sure that it succeeds. And that means thinking much longer term. And also I think people overcomplicate things. The reason people don't want to do a lot of things is because they complicate them so much that it feels scarier than it is. But business isn't complicated. People make business complicated. So just simplify what you're going to do at any one time. Make everything simpler, and then nothing seems as scary or as hard.
Now, I love that. And let's be simple. So for anybody that's now, their ears are pricked up and they're like, yes, passive income sounds like something I might like to try. What are the simple first steps that you encourage people to prepare themselves to actually get on that passive income road?
Yeah, well, I do this challenge every year, and every year the same people come back, because we do exactly what I'm about to tell you to do now. Get a big piece of paper and write down everything you know about, whether it's the jobs you've had in the past, whether you were working in a call center or advertising agency, whatever you were doing, write it down. There will be some things in there that are going to help you realize the knowledge you have. Then write down everything you're doing now, whether you're in a job, whether you're in business. What are the things in your job and business that are transferable? Maybe use social media, write that down. You might be good at that more than other people. And then have a look at life experience. Maybe you were able to potty train your twins in 2 weeks. Like, what is the life experience you've had? What are the hobbies you like? What are the things you like to do? Write them all down as well. You never know which of these things is going to be the thing that ultimately is going to make you a lot of money. One of my clients, Lauren, when she came to me, she didn't know what, she wanted a membership. She didn't know what to membership on. She did this exact exercise. And one of the things on her hobbies list was, I really like the theatre. She loves the theatre. And I was like, okay, well, if you like the theatre, other people like the theatre, because it's a community thing. If you like something and there's lots of other people that like it, that's right for a membership. So she started a membership just before COVID hit for people that like the theatre, paying a small amount each month. And they would talk about, the best seats in this place. And, she might get a West End singer to come for 10 minutes and have a quick chat with her. And then she realised she could also buy tickets in bulk and she could help that way. And then the theatres all shut down. During COVID, when the theatres were shut down, from that theatre membership, Laura made over £1 million.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that ending.
Because people want to be around people that like the same things, whether it's guitar, knitting, dating, whatever. I have a membership for people who are in the first stages of business. That's because we all think the same. So we all have the same conversations. So you'll pay to be around people who will have those same conversations as you. And that's the same with any kind of membership.
I love that. But taking it from a slightly different angle, I know there's going to be at least one person listening right now that's going, well, I'm a bit further along. I have a business. I have an expertise. I'm coaching right now. I definitely know what I'm about. They're going to love the idea of passive income for all the obvious reasons. But one of the blocks and barriers that I've seen people come up with will be, but I don't know if I could give it away for such a little amount of money, because then what will I sell my upscaled premium one-to-ones? What exactly do I take out of this enormous
You don't take anything out. Here's the thing you're going to be taking out, you. So if you look at anybody that has an ascension business model, which is, a ladder business model. So like from my small membership to my mid courses to my very expensive £20,000 mastermind. If you look at all the things I teach across all of those different things, they're exactly the same with more or less of me in them. So if it's going to be my eyes on your business in a mastermind, you're going to be paying me more than if I'm teaching you about passive income for £49 in the membership. In fact, I'm not in there. You're going to be learning about it from other people. And then stepping stones up. So I believe you don't need to be teaching like new stuff or different stuff. I believe you can teach the same thing at a different intensity with a different level of people. And so, don't think, also, we know that people know now that it doesn't matter how much free stuff you give away, people still come into the courses. Like my Race to Recurring Revenue Challenge, I tell people exactly how to make passive income. I still have loads of people coming into the course because people don't do things. They don't pay for things just for the knowledge. They pay for the accountability. They pay for the step-by-step and the hand-holding. They know that if they pay, they're more likely to pay attention. And so they're going to more likely implement and do the work. But they pay for all these different kinds of things. Accountability. It's not just about the knowledge. If it was just about the knowledge, no one would ever sell anything because everything is already online for free.
Yeah, and let's be honest. I mean, your amazing book, which I'm in the middle of reading right now, you've laid it all out in there as well.
You
can buy that for under a tenner. It's all right there.
Yeah, it's all right there. But people will still come into the course because it's much easier to do something with guidance.
Well, I mean, we don't need to be convinced of that, because in the coaching industry, that's why we exist. It's because anybody can go out there and do something on their own, but it's hard and it takes a long time. So sometimes it's easier to pay to have someone hold your hand and encourage you and see the gaps and the blocks, so you don't have to spin your wheels and get stuck at every stage. It's
Absolutely.
obvious in that sense, isn't it? And
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, we always worry about things. And actually, if we just stopped worrying so much and just do things and see how they work out, not everything will. There's lots of things I do that I fail at, but those failures teach me things every time. And so it doesn't really worry me when I put something out or I try something, it doesn't really work, because it means, okay, what have I learned from that I need to tweak for the next thing? We just need to stop being scared of failure and just try things anyway, because otherwise we never learn anything and we never get anywhere, because we're just stuck in scared to do things mode.
Yeah, I mean, that's what keeps us all just stuck over and over again, because that unworthiness story around fear of failure or fear of success or all of the other fears that we have means that every time we tackle something new, we come up against resistance. It's like
I'll tell you
swimming through
what,
treacle.
though, that doesn't happen to my clients that are over 60, because they don't have time to care about it. So my clients that are 60 to 70 plus, when they start a business, they succeed very quickly. And I believe it's because they can't overthink it. They're not millennials with the time to overthink it and to think for 2 years whether they want to do something or not, whether they can get over the fear or whether they're scared of failure. No, they haven't got time. They just do it. And if only we thought like that at 30.
Wow. Yeah. I'm thinking, what would that look like if I'd have thought like that at 30?
Yeah, but there are 30-year-olds that we need to tell them that's what they're going to be thinking like, so they need to do it.
I know we can tell our children. Unfortunately, our children always tend to do the exact opposite of what we tell them, but we can live in hope, right? Or maybe that's just my children right now, but they're turning into little teenagers. So
no, mine too.
It's hard going at times. It really is. We got makeup strewn everywhere. I've got 3 daughters, so it's just makeup chaos, really.
2 sons. I'm not going through that bit yet.
Yeah, no. And right, another question I'd love to know about, because you mentioned earlier about your secondary messaging. I love the way you position that, because it's something I believe too. I mean, yes, I help with brand messaging, but my secondary messaging is around overthinking, about being slightly neurotic, about being ex-corporate, about being a particular type of person. And that's why my perfect fit clients work with me, not somebody else who might be equally good or teach messaging in a completely different way, and so on. And I know that you talk about integrity, and I've seen that you are very affiliated with anti-bullying, and you talk about bro marketing tactics, and a lot of this I share dearly. And I'd love to know about, particularly in marketing, what it means to you to be in integrity, and what you want to see more of in the industry.
I want to see more transparency. That's the biggest thing. I think there are too many tactics. We all used to use selling tactics. We were taught them, whether it's little things like having a bonus, FOMO marketing. They weren't really bad things, but what happened is everyone got used to them. And so then they went to the next stage, trauma marketing. Let's try that instead, making people feel bad about themselves so that they have to come and buy our product. And then that stopped working. And so people started trying the next level of things like invisible offers, things that are really, should be illegal. They're there just to make people buy things that they don't really need or want. And there's so much shadiness out there, that the way that people are doing things using hypnosis, NLP to sell, this isn't what it was created for. It was created to help people, and it's now being used to make people feel bad about themselves so that they buy into things. And I think all of that needs to stop. And I think that people are waking up to a lot of it, but 5 years ago they weren't. And I felt like it was just me talking about it. But now I hear lots of people talking about it. People are being more discerning. People are not buying through FOMO anymore, and this fear that everyone's doing it, so I need to do it. They're actually taking the time to think about whether they want it or not. We've done a few courses now where, just to prove a point, we've not used any bonuses, no urgency tactics, no FOMO tactics, nothing. And we've still made, multi 6 figures each launch, which proves it can be done. So, you know, I'm not saying don't ever use a bonus. I like a bonus. I think it can be fun. I think there are things you can use that can be fun as long as you counterbalance it. So if people are going to come in because of FOMO, give them a 2-week refund period. So you're counterbalancing the problems that you might be causing. But I think that I still think there's a massive amount of shadiness in the online world. And if I'm honest, I do see it more in the spiritual side of the online world, because I think it's so unregulated. And, you know, there are literally people who will say, pay me 300,000 and I will give you 5 codes that you say 6 times, quantum codes, and then you'll make more money. I mean, that kind of practice has got to stop. And there are so many people that are being conned into it and losing their houses over it. And hopefully, the more we talk about it, the more we show there's a different way, because there's no judgment here. I think people have been taught to do these things by other people. I was certainly taught to lie about my income, for instance, like those kind of things. I've never done them, but I was taught to do them. And so I think what we need to do is show another way so that people can look and go, well, she's not doing any of those things and she's still making money. And if we have that ripple effect, think how different our industry would be.
Oh, I love how you're standing up for this stuff, because I share that entirely. I remember when I first launched, it was all about these bro marketing tactics. It was like the prices going up, the fear of missing out, the scarcity, the urgency. And for me, now I'm in an evergreen space because I'm just completely upfront. I'm like, look, I'd love for you to join my container when you're ready. I'm not going anywhere. Come back with any more questions. It'll still be here next month. It doesn't make a difference. And
No.
I think that took a lot of pressure off of me as the business owner, because I feel in integrity. And that means that when I sell, I can do it in an easy way, in the same way that I would want to be sold to, which makes a big difference. And you can do
launches that way. You can launch without any of those tactics as well. And it still works really, really well. I think that there should only be one rule, and it's the only rule I have. I will do business while I can still sleep at night. And if I one day realize that I'm doing things that mean that I can't sleep at night, I'm no longer doing business. I will just quit.
I hear you. And I think you made a really good point also about the spiritual community and the offers out there. And not a lot of people are talking about that with the same energy as people are talking about anti-bro marketing. And, you know, I work and exist within the spiritual space. I work with healers and people doing amazing work. But I do balk sometimes when I see messaging that almost there's a subtext that if you don't, then you'll never evoke the law of attraction, or you'll never evoke this spiritual truth if you don't work in this way. And there are some people out there charging immense amount of money for things that are intangible, which I don't have an issue with. I think that we need to step into our power with what our special innate gifts are, but we also have to be very transparent in our marketing. And our audiences, we all have responsibility as buyers of things to actually decide to be more discerning and decide, do I really need this? Is this really going to create results for me? Or am I getting sucked in to the messaging and the energy that's actually not really what I need right now? And so we all need to take responsibility.
We do. And it's about due diligence, but it's also on us to teach people about due diligence, because, you know, not everyone knows how to look at things. You know, people are scared to ask people for proof of their earnings, but they shouldn't be. Like, these are clients. If people are shouting about they're making 7 figures, 8 figures, whatever, but they won't show you proof of it, walk away.
Yeah. And imagine, I don't know how many coaches listening have ever been asked, I know I have, to be asked for referrals that they could personally contact. And I remember somebody asking this for me, and I was like, that's unusual. I have no problem doing it. I'll reach out to some previous clients, check that they're okay with it, send you their details. They never did contact them out of curiosity, but part of their due diligence process was making sure that that coach was completely happy to share real life people that they can reach out to. Back in my job in the advertising world, I would fully expect to give references to any potential employer. You wouldn't expect them to take it on trust with somebody's first name and a nice social media picture and a quote that says, this person's amazing, I loved working with them. And it's like, oh, well, in that case, come on in, let's take my money.
That. We need to start actually looking at what we need as well, because there's a lot of but I will help you sell a 100K package, but no one's talking about what's in the package. It's like pyramid selling. I'll help you sell a 100K package, and in it, I'll teach you how to sell a 100K package, and so forth and so forth. We need to stop that and start going, what's in the package?
Because I saw recently, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a program or a course that is CPD accredited, or you're going for next level accreditation.
My courses are, but both of my courses are CPD accredited purposely, because otherwise I could just give people a certificate that I print in my bedroom and it doesn't mean anything. And there are lots of people doing that, when actually I do think we need regulation. I never used to, but there's so much out there now that I think that's the way we need to go. So I got CPD accredited because I want the standards of the things I put out there to be of a certain standard, and that forces it to be.
I love it. You're all about authenticity and integrity, and I salute you. I love the work you're doing. I'm inspired by your passive income piece and all of the book and the podcast stuff. Thanks, Lisa. I'm delighted that you shared that with us today. But before we move off, I always invite my guests, as I will you, to share some inspired action that someone listening who's been instantly inspired by the idea of getting started in passive income. I know you shared an action earlier about making a list of all the things you know, but what could be something that someone who's already on the road to understanding where they add value, what could be something simple they could do today?
I think really simply, go to your audience and ask them what they want. Co-create with them. If I was to create something for you in the form of a course or a membership, what would you like to see in it? They will tell you exactly what they want. You can co-create it based on what they want, not what you want to do. And then it's very much more likely to sell.
Okay, you heard it here first. It's just find out what they want and make it. And before we just jump off and go, well, that was obvious, secondary question to that, if someone has a small audience out there and it's not as simple as dropping in their stories and waiting for the answers to pour in, what's a simple way for them to actually get a response so they can move forward on it?
I think if you have a small audience, email them and ask them the question. I have people in my affiliate launch who have an audience of 20 people, and every year they convert 10 into my course. You don't need a massive audience. You just need a loyal one.
Lisa, thank you. That was absolutely brilliant. I'm inspired. I'm delighted you joined us. And if people want to find out more about you online, where's the best place they can find you?
Instagram. Just go to @LisaJohnsonStrategist, and I answer all my social media myself everywhere. So if you do pop in and say hello, it will be me that answers back.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And the link will be in the show notes as always. Lisa, many thanks.
Thank you.
And my thanks again to Lisa for sharing such immense value. And I've got to say, Lisa's the most down-to-earth person you'll ever meet. An absolute joy to chat to. And it's always such a pleasure to be in the aura of somebody who has such certainty about what they bring, the value that they add to the industry, to their clients, and how that lights them up too. A big part of my own personal journey has been coming home to myself and understanding where I fit in, what my positioning is, and most importantly of all, who are the best match people for me to work with. And it's a question that many of us ask. In fact, many of my own clients have come to me with that question being at the forefront of their minds. Who exactly am I supposed to be working with? Who are the clients that are the best match? The ones that are going to be thrilled by the work and transformation that I create, and importantly, by the promises that I make and the content I create in my messaging. And if that's a question that you've been asking yourself, I'd love to share with you my free on-demand training, specially for ambitious and intuitive coaches, healers, and light workers who find themselves over-efforting for low-vibe clients. So if you'd like to learn the code to elevating your messaging to consistently attract energetically aligned clients, in this training, I share with you the paradigm shifting way to discover the real reason you're attracting low vibe clients, how to dial in your elevated brand essence so you can activate your most expansive and energized dream clients, and how to feel energized and never second guess your true purpose again. If you'd like to watch this free training, simply go to joannaingram.link/training to receive instant access to the masterclass. And so have an inspired action week. Take care. Bye now.